Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my personal opinions review of the Adidas X16 Plus PureChaos. Now, for those that are unfamiliar with the personal opinion series on my channel, unlike my regular reviews where I kind of break down every aspect of the shoe from a tech spec standpoint and kind of share opinions along the way, but more so just break down the information and then let you decide for yourself. This is a series where I straight up share my personal opinion based on what I like in a pair of soccer shoes, what I think is really good, what I think should be changed, and what I don't necessarily like all that much about this particular shoe. So if you're interested in learning what my personal opinion is, because a lot of people tend to ask for it, that's kind of what this video is going to be all about. So with that being said, let's get right into it. The X16 Plus PureChaos is quite simply my personal favorite Adidas model at the moment. I think it's a really good shoe, but it's not without things that I would not change about it. What's really interesting about this shoe is the lace cover concept. It visually is distinctively different from everything else out there, other than maybe the messy 16 Plus Pure Agility, but that's kind of just a variation of this particular design with a different upper material. So it's almost difficult to compare the two because they are so similar design-wise. Nonetheless, the lace cover aspect is actually something that I really like. Is it entirely necessary? No. Is it something that's going to improve performance? Absolutely not. And there is a certain aspect of this lace cover that I don't like, but just from the aspect that the entire upper is the same texturing. It's got the same kind of grippiness across the entire upper. It has that kind of seamless sensation without actually being seamless. It's just an extra layer of material on top. They did a good job. It fits really well when the shoe is on your foot. There's no loose slack, which can often be a concern for lace covers. Adidas did a lace cover with the F50 Tune It series. I'm sure a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. And the lace covers on those with the big kind of Velcro fold over piece, those were very bulky, and you don't get that same sensation here. It's extra material, but it's not extra material that you necessarily feel while you're wearing the shoe. So in that regard, they did a very good job by implementing a lace cover that, like I said, doesn't add any bulk to the shoe. What I don't care for with the lace cover is that you can't really get inside. There is a lacing system in this shoe where you have basically 3 lacing positions, which I personally don't think is deep enough. I would have liked it to see kind of 4 lace holes deep and just a little bit further down the foot just to kind of secure the forefoot area a little bit more. Not to say that the shoe is unstable when you wear it. It's surprisingly responsive given that there are only 3 lace loops, but I would have liked to have seen it gone a little bit lower and even one more higher just so you could get a little bit more lockdown in the heel as well as in the forefoot area. It just would have made the shoe feel that much more secure and that much more responsive. But like I said, what they've done here does work pretty well. But because of this lace cover, you can't really tie them properly. I like to tighten my shoe section by section, and you can't really get your fingers in there once the shoe is on your foot with this lace cover. You kind of just have to pull from the top, and it does effectively tighten everything, but you get a tightness that isn't as even as I would like it to be. And then when it comes to taking them off, again, you kind of just have to pull the shoe off because you can't actually loosen the laces until it's off your foot. So that's kind of the one major flaw that I have, or the one major issue that I have with the lace cover itself. But otherwise, I think it looks pretty cool. I think it feels really good. I just wish there was some way to get in there and change the lacing system up a little bit. Another thing that I think is pretty cool with this shoe is actually the Tech Fit system. It does fit really nicely. It spans pretty much the entire inside of the shoe up until this particular seam, and then the forefoot is left pretty much as a straight up synthetic. But it does have that nice kind of wrap around your foot where you slide the shoe on, it stretches and then kind of compresses to the shape of your foot really nicely. It hugs your foot very cleanly, I guess is the best way to put it. And then the synthetic upper, I don't think it's the best synthetic upper that Adidas has ever put out. I don't really have any issues with it. But again, I don't think it's the best thing that they've ever done. Coming from the X15.1, the model prior to this, I really felt like that had a better quality synthetic upper. It was a little bit thinner, and to me just felt a little bit more premium than what they've given us here on the PureChaos. But this does get the job done. It's thin, but not overly thin. It does have a slightly padded sensation to it, which I personally don't mind, although I think the shoe perhaps would have been a little bit better off in the synthetic just being slightly thinner in general. But nonetheless, the touch is quite good and no major complaints in regards to the upper itself. Moving on to the heel area, again, I really would have loved to have seen one more kind of lacing position up higher, just to help to push your heel back into the shoe itself. Not to say that heel slippage is an issue, but this opening is quite large for the top lace hole being this far back. So you have a lot of area from here to here where there isn't really anything pushing your heel into the base of the shoe. So depending on how the shoe fits you, if it didn't fit you exactly right, there is a possibility for heel slippage and just general movement overall. Like I said, I think more lacing positions and just a deeper lacing system in general would have made this shoe feel a lot more locked down and just a lot more responsive in general. Another kind of distinctive element of this particular shoe is this S-curve in the heel, which I don't have any issues with in terms of wearing. I don't particularly care for how it looks. And to me, it's kind of an unnecessary design element. They really touted this as kind of being a stress relief for the Achilles tendon and that it kind of curves back. But you could also make the argument that just because this curves back and it's extra high doesn't necessarily mean that just eliminating it entirely wouldn't relieve stress on your Achilles heel as well. If there's nothing there for your heel to rub on, it can't be stressed out, or it can't be under any kind of pain, if that makes any sense. And we saw a little bit of that in the form of the X16 Plus Pure Agility, which does have the S-curve heel, but it's significantly lower and I think just feels better in general. But for this model, again, I think mainly for looks, they made it a little bit taller than it needs to be, but again, not something you really notice while you're playing, just something that I don't really care for the look of. And then moving on to the sole plate and stud pattern, they did obviously implement a sprint frame sole plate. That does make the shoe fairly light. And then the stud pattern, again, they kind of reverted back to the same stud patterns they were using back in 2010. The exact same layout with slightly different shaped studs, but ultimately the performance is pretty much the same as what we got from all of those Adidas stud patterns prior to the major design changes that we did start to see. So again, they're kind of going back to what was really successful for them a couple of years ago, and I don't really blame them for that. But overall, I would have loved to have seen some variety from stud pattern to stud pattern, or from model to model, I should say, with the stud patterns from the Adidas brand, kind of like what we see from Nike, where every line has its own unique stud pattern, at least to a certain extent. We don't necessarily have that anymore from Adidas, and that's not necessarily a criticism of this shoe specifically, but more so the brand overall. And the only reason I say that is just because, not that this stud pattern doesn't perform well, but you're getting the same stud pattern, be it the Ace line, the X line, or the Messi line. You really can't get away with it. So if you don't necessarily love this particular stud pattern, you're probably not going to like anything from Adidas because, like I said, they all have variations of the exact same thing. But overall, I think this is a really, really good shoe. I didn't know what to make of it when they first showed it off. But now that I've actually worn it and I've got some time in it, I am actually a fan of this. Like I said, if I'm picking an Adidas model to wear right now, even though this isn't really the style of shoe that I would normally go for, this would be my pick. It's very comfortable. It fits quite well. It's relatively lightweight. And again, it kind of ticks off all the boxes in terms of what I like in a soccer shoe. Again, in comparison to all their other models. Do I think it's the best shoe Adidas has ever put out? No, not necessarily, but given how many kind of interesting, unique elements that the shoe has about it, it does work quite well. It's a design that I think is well thought out. There is room for improvement, but as a first go, like I said, I think they did a pretty good job with this. So if you are interested in the X16 Plus Pure Chaos, like I said, it is a shoe that I can recommend and that I do personally enjoy wearing. Alright guys, so those are my personal opinions on the Adidas X16 Plus Pure Chaos. If you have any questions at all regarding anything that I talked about in today's video, leave them down below in the comment section and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you have any suggestions for other personal opinions videos that you'd like to see go up on the channel, leave those down below in the comments and I'll take a look at everything you guys have to say. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.